You're listening to Mixing Mindsets. I'm Andrew Blank.
And I'm Eric Navrosky, and we hope you find some value out of these conversations about lifestyle, music, and more. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mixing Mindsets. Today we're going to be talking about the effects of social media, whether that is positive or negative.
What's your take on it?
I think there's so much positive in it that I'm very grateful that it was crafted to become a thing. But obviously there are some heavy drawbacks. We'll focus on the negative first so we can end on the positive. How about that?
Okay, I like that.
Because we want to be upbeat.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Right. So obviously negatively, I think we've been noticing just in society, people are quote unquote more connected yet less connected.
Right.
There's a lot less conversations, and this is a little tough for me to kind of wrap my head around because in high school, middle school, high school, I didn't necessarily have this kind of social media that we see today.
Right. We grew up in a relatively different time.
Well, yeah. Like, yes. So I'm trying to think back to my high school days of what did that look like when I was sitting across the lunch table from somebody? Was I, talking to them? Were they on their phone? And maybe this is just romanticizing the past,
right.
But I do think that I had more conversations with people that I disagreed with,
right,
and that we were still friends.
Exactly.
And that to me kind of nails the negative effect of social media on the head for me.
Yeah.
Is that I've just noticed so many people have less conversations with people that they disagree with, that they're still okay being friends with and still talking to, So I would love to see social media be utilized in a positive way, but not lose the fact that just because you and I may disagree on something means I have to dislike you.
Right.
Or hate you, or you're the worst person,
Right.
And I do believe that is like kind of the top number one worst thing that social media has done to us. And this is just in my experience. I'm sure other people have seen otherwise.
Right.
And then before we started, we were talking about that picture or meme or whatever of the grandparents and the children, and like everyone's on their phone.
That complete disconnect where the grandparent wants to talk to the child and the child's looking at the phone.
Yeah, exactly. And I see that when we go out to restaurants,
right?
And I'm very grateful that I kind of grew up without it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I believe social media should kind of be used as a tool for adults.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and that sounds funny, but I do believe it with adults because for us, I see it as a way to build a network for either a band or a business,
right,
or things that you're trying to do that way. And like, I know it's great, you can connect with family from far away and so on and so forth. But really, on a day-to-day basis, I'm not connecting with family far away.
Yes.
And I do believe that's a good thing, but still, that's not the average of what's happening. On a day-to-day basis, when I use social media, I'm trying to promote myself.
Right.
I'm trying to promote the studio. I'm trying to promote the bands. I'm trying to get people to really care about that kind of stuff. So I don't think as a child you should really be worrying about that.
Right.
Your circle is your school.
Exactly.
Go to people. Go ahead.
Okay.
No,
you're fine. You're fine. I can't help but think that like social media has essentially changed the way that our mind frames even work.
Yeah.
I feel like especially at least from my perspective over the last 2 or 3 years, it definitely has become this sense of like, we crave this overwhelming instant gratification. I think instant being the key word. Whatever you want, especially in 2022, you're able to get it with the sense of immediacy.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you immediately like kind of already feel a certain way. And I think that
like if you don't
get whatever you're going for,
you post a
relatively
photo and it doesn't
fast,
get 50 likes, and you're like, oh,
exactly. And that even starts to beg the question of like, what do the likes mean? Like
it should be nothing.
Exactly. And it's I find that very interesting when I try to like analytically look at stuff like this.
I think it should be nothing in the way of your personal happiness and in the way of, oh, this person genuinely likes me.
Right.
I don't think it should mean much, but on the flip side, I think it does mean something where if you're trying to build an audience because you do have a brand that you're trying to promote,
Right.
if you get 1 like or if you get 100 likes, there is no argument. If you get 100 people seeing your product, your service, whatever you do,
right,
liking it, then you know that you're reaching those people, and that's obviously going to be a better feeling.
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. It's just such a slippery slope because obviously it depends on the application that you apply that methodology to.
Yeah.
Because, like from a brand perspective, obviously the more likes, the better. I'm popular. People are going to like my product. Meanwhile, like, just general scheme of like, just what I do as an artistic hobby or something like, or just if I wanted to post a photo of myself and just there's something about that correlating with overall happiness that is just very, very bizarre to me.
Yeah. And dangerous, I guess, because we've been seeing now recently that people really put everything into social media, whether it, their self-confidence comes from nothing but social media.
Exactly.
If they post a photo and it doesn't get as many likes as they typically do, their self-confidence is taking a massive hit.
Yes, exactly.
And that is dangerous.
However, it could be, especially strictly talking from the music artistic perspective that you and I come from.
Right.
I think sometimes it's a slippery slope both directions because sometimes the overwhelming amount of your large online presence can feed an ego. And, and I just,
if it's too much.
Exactly. Sometimes that could create a whole different monster, and it's kind of unfortunate that I'm obviously not talking about anyone in particular, just in a generalized sense, that sometimes you run into those people where it's just kind of like, oh, wait, you've become something else because what your imagination created online, people fed into that and you became that. And that's actually kind of weird in societal standards.
Yeah. And that's, everybody knows those kind of people.
Right.
There's not a single, and I know you're not being specific, but really you can't go anywhere without meeting somebody like that. It's not, it's our scene or it's not their scene or whatever. It's everywhere. You're going to find it everywhere. So, there's definitely some scary negatives that we've been seeing with social media, and keeping them in check is not an easy task.
Right.
So, prior to this podcast, you were talking about and I don't want to say overuse, but that you've noticed. Go ahead.
I came in here in 45 minutes ago, and we just obviously we break in the conversation like we normally do, and I just started talking. I was just like, hey, I've noticed that I've been inadvertently looking at my phone more for absolutely no reason, and I've noticed it's been manipulating my mood. And when I became consciously aware of that, I was just like, okay, wait a minute, I should take a step back. Yeah. Because I'm the type of person who's been down that road plenty of times. Right. So it's interesting to look at from the perspective of this, this computational device is dictating the way I feel. Yeah. So it's almost, it makes me want to just let go. And
do you think you can kind of pinpoint it to something that you saw, or just the act of getting on your phone? So for example, say you open Facebook and somebody says, hey, I graduated and all this good stuff is happening, and you keep scrolling and you just keep seeing good stuff.
Right. I think that heavily has things to do with it. I think, and I feel like that's one of those things that you need the assurance of hearing it an overwhelming amount of times for it to kind of stick. But it's just that thing of Facebook and social media really are nothing more than people trying to showcase the best of themselves. Yeah. So, and I feel like everyone kind of knows that. And it's just sometimes you need to hear things in order for them to click. Yeah. And there's something about scrolling, seeing the best of everyone, that kind of makes you feel like
Inadequate.
Yeah, inadequate and just underwhelming, you know, like
Right.
if I'm scrolling on my phone during like, you know, during a lunch break or something at work
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh, they're out doing all this cool stuff. Look at all these people. Obviously, I'm going to feel like crap in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there was just a lot of that. And I was just like, hey, I should probably step back because I understand this for what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kind of give myself the mental break here.
Well, so that's interesting to me because then that makes me think if you open Facebook and you see a bunch of positive stuff,
Right.
you can sort of flip that and think to yourself, well, I'm not doing this, so then I feel bad.
Yeah.
But on the inverse, if you open up Facebook and you see a bunch of negative stuff,
Right.
you're probably not going to feel good about yourself. You're going to be like, oh, look at all this terrible stuff that's happening. Now I feel like crap.
Exactly.
So you're basically
It's just
saying
two
that,
negatives.
Yeah, that being on it is not a good thing.
Right.
And in moderation.
Exactly. I
think
said
it is
it
moderation.
heavily depends on the application.
Yeah.
So I feel like obviously I can only speak from my own perspective and my own mental health. From that perspective, yes, there are certain things that are bad, and I have to understand when to hold restraint.
Yeah.
And when I could kind of like go about my business versus like a completely different application, like we were talking before, branding and trying to raise awareness for whatever your product is.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the ultimate tool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great segue into kind of talking about the positives of social media.
Yeah.
I've noticed I don't know what I would do for my business without social media.
Right.
So you remember a few months ago when Facebook went down?
Yeah.
It was like Facebook, Instagram, like a bunch of different places went down.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself,
The world stops for a minute.
Yeah. Honestly, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, what would actually happen? Because I wasn't concerned like, oh no, we just lost Facebook. We're never going to get it back again.
Exactly.
But it does prompt the question in your brain. I was like, what would actually happen if this was just gone?
Yeah.
I would be horrified
Right.
with my business. So many people reach out to me because of social media.
Exactly.
I've met so many clients because of social media. I've, the clients that do end up coming to me, I typically ask them why.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I saw your stuff online, or I'm friends with Andrew and I saw that Andrew shared your post.
Exactly.
And and to me that is so important towards our business and you too, as a songwriter and producer and musician, it's important that people see your stuff.
Raise awareness for yourself. It's self-promotion.
And I think
it's the easiest format to do so.
I think that's a good thing. And I do believe that a lot of people don't think that's a good thing.
Right.
They'll be like, oh, I think it's an ad and it's self-promotion. But like, I like when I see my friends promote the stuff that they're working on.
Right.
Especially when I know that it takes a lot of work to do it.
Right.
So for example, when I've got friends who put out a record, even if I had nothing to do with it,
right,
I know what it takes to make a record.
Yeah.
I know, I know how difficult it is, and I know what people put in, your blood, sweat, and tears to actually do that. So when I see it, I'm like, yeah, promote it.
No, exactly.
Do it and keep doing it.
Right, exactly. I think there's just there is a sense of actually like living it to understand the appreciation for when you see stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You have to, like you said, you have to kind of dissect it and see it for what it is and understand how much went into it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people like at the like just look at the surface level, and that's when you tend to get a lot of like the negativity and stuff like that.
Yeah, when you look at, oh well, they just put out this cool thing and I'm not
exactly
doing anything. But so to me, this kind of makes me think of it's a perspective thing.
It is.
And
social media is one giant mind game.
And you as an individual, and I mean like you, me, listeners, whoever, has to take personal accountability to keep yourself in check, to make sure, and as you said before, you're saying, oh, I have to take a break.
Right.
I have to put it down for a second and I have to step away because I don't want to think this way. I don't want to become this way. And I do believe in my personal life, I have a pretty healthy relationship with social media. The only thing that I've noticed a lot is just habits of checking the phone
right
quick
Yes.
And it doesn't go any further than that. It's not like, oh, I have to open it and then I have to go to Facebook and then I have to scroll through it.
Yeah.
It's typically just, did somebody message me? Nope. Put it down. And maybe that's because of the clients and whatnot, and trying to see, you know, I don't really necessarily care if I post a photo to keep looking at all the likes and see, oh, you know, this person's liking and that person.
Right.
It more so I'm waiting for someone to message me.
Yeah.
And that's where I find it might bother me a little bit.
Anticipation kind of gets to you.
Yeah, but it bothers me a little bit, but honestly not enough where I'm like, this is a problem in my life. But I do believe, you know, a lot of people have a problem in their life.
Right.
With
Absolutely.
it, you know,
Yeah. No, we were just talking about that before. I've definitely had a social media issue.
Yeah.
I've literally just been very open to you about how like it's caused me heavy amounts of anxiety for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
So kind of like I've been on both sides of the spectrum. So
describe it. All right. So this sounds really, I don't know if it's arrogant or whatever, but I don't truthfully know like anxiety.
Right.
Which sounds really goofy. And not that I haven't been anxious before in my life. Of course I've been anxious before. But to describe it as anxiety, as like, oh, it creates this feeling that's like not there. Like, you know, sometimes when I was younger, I would be anxious about a show or I would be anxious about taking a test, but that's all normal stuff.
Right, exactly.
So like when it comes to anxiety,
yes,
I want you to kind of dive into that a little bit and sort of describe to me what that is based off of social media.
I think it tends to stem from, at least from my perspective, going down the road that I've been on. It feels like if you do it consistently enough and you get the same exact response, there's something about wanting to upkeep that response and keep it. If you do something, you want it to be consistent and or grow. You never want to lose it.
Yeah.
So when you do it long enough,
so there's your addiction.
There's an addiction.
Yeah.
And the moment you feel like something there's a disconnect, and the moment you feel like something is going to lose momentum and not gain it, you're immediately just you enter panic mode. Honestly, you do, and you're just like, well, wait, how do I fix that?
Yeah.
And you do everything you possibly can to fix it.
That's some people's jobs.
Right.
They're like social media managers.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't.
Thank God that's not me.
It's like the guys on like Wall Street and stuff. Like the moment something goes bad, everyone's flipping out.
Sell.
It's basically that in your head. And it's a wild time.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's more big picture? Or do you think that comes from a day-to-day thing?
What do you mean?
Like, is that a daily occurrence? Do you open it and go, oh, crap? Or is this something that a few weeks goes by and then you start reflecting and thinking, hey, wait, now I have less than...
For me, it definitely was a daily thing.
Really?
It was. I've gone far enough down that wormhole that I believe, for the most part, daily.
Huh. Interesting.
And there's just something about that, and it took...
So you just open it and look.
Yeah.
And then immediately, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
Exactly. Well, exactly. It was just kind of like, you know, full disclosure, we have to talk about the meme thing.
Oh yeah.
Obviously,
I didn't bring it up.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So like, I was posting really dumb memes,
right?
For the longest time.
Somebody say Vines. Were they Vines?
They weren't Vines, no.
Oh, I thought you posted on Vine.
I existed after Vine.
I'm the worst friend ever.
It's okay. I was literally like literally an exclusive like Facebook profile that it was just me posting on my own Facebook, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was very, very bizarre how it's kind of stemmed from complete boredom into something that just spiraled out of control. And there's something about getting heavy amounts of gratification truthfully from the response, like the likes.
So these dopamine hits.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, like I did that.
1,000 shares.
I did that in 20 minutes out of utter boredom. How do I do it again? And basically it became that type of challenge for me.
Yeah.
And it was almost just like, let's see how long this goes. And I made it go.
Yeah.
And go and go and go.
How long did it go?
It probably went at least a year and a half, 2 years.
So what was the darkest point?
I don't think there was a darkest point, to be
Really?
honest. I think eventually there came this realization of like, dude, you gotta stop. Like,
Yeah. Was that a challenge?
That was the worst challenge of them all.
Stopping or coming to the realization?
Stopping.
Okay. Did the realization come quick?
The realization came relatively quick.
Like obviously, like you were doing it, and then one day you were just like, "Huh."
Right. It was just like, what am I even doing this for anymore?
Yeah.
And it was just it almost like I had no 100%. I get it.
Yeah.
No, I implemented it into into my routine. I mean,
wake up, coffee, shower, meme time.
Yeah. No, but for real, like it really was something like that at one point. And what I did was like, it's funny how you have to call it for what it is. It was an addiction.
Yeah.
And I literally did the cold turkey. Like I just cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it took a very long time to obviously, like, I think when I cut it, it was just kind of like, okay, this is done now. What do I do?
Yeah.
And I think there came this realization of like, oh wait, like, you have a life to live.
Yeah. Outside of this video.
Right. No, exactly. And I think there's something about that, about not being not feeling restrained to something like that, and just realizing like, oh, just go do other things, and that's fine. And I think and I think there's something about that in the full scheme of life that people need to hear.
Yeah.
In the regard of like social media, it can overwhelm your thought process.
Yeah,
and
your
sometimes you need to take a step back. Yeah.
And remember you have a
and literally
life.
just remember you have a life. And I mean, I think that's kind of the philosophy I have now. I jump back in little like segments here and there, but I'm comfortable from my own perspective.
Yeah.
Just doing things outside of that and realizing that how much progress and how much happier I feel making progress in life.
Yeah.
Versus
like in other
areas of life. Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings a question.
Yeah.
What if somebody's goals were what you were doing?
I wouldn't recommend that road. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
What if somebody does find true happiness out of making videos like that?
I don't know.
I mean, there's some videos, I guess, that were similar to what you've made.
Right.
That I thoroughly enjoyed because I was like, yo, that was hilarious.
Well, exactly. And I think I can't help but think that everyone at some point doing something like that will plateau.
Like they'll
just reach a peaking point and realize like,
I don't want to do this.
They don't want to do it. I think it's funny because if you go ahead and compare this to like Hollywood celebrities or stuff like that, there's a reason eventually they're just like, okay, I've done this shtick for so long, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny, like I can't even, for some reason the only thing in my head is like when you have like comedians do like serious roles or something like that. It basically always stems from utter hatred for what they've been doing forever.
Didn't I don't know if you know John Panette. You know who John Panette is?
No, I
don't. I think he played in The Punisher, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And I've seen he wasn't The Punisher, but like he was just like a separate character. I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. That was a tangent. Yep. Anyways, man, but I don't know. I have a feeling that if somebody does love that and find true enjoyment, how like, I guess I can't be the one to be like, oh, that you shouldn't do that.
Right, exactly.
I don't know.
At the end of the day, do what you want to do and do what makes you thoroughly happy.
Yeah.
I guess
everything could be an addiction at some point, and you have to keep it in check.
Yeah.
You have to keep it monitored, but I think social media lends itself to be more easily addictive than other things.
100%.
Probably because it's so little work.
Exactly. And just given the nature of the state of social media right now.
Yeah.
I think like it all circles back to that instant gratification thing.
Yeah.
And it like
fast food.
Yeah, 100%.
It's terrible for you, but it's
I mean, meanwhile, like the
quick.
social media of what, like 2006, 2007,
yeah.
like people were just kind of cruising on that, and
Yeah.
if they built something, it felt like there was a lot of give and take. Like social media was there as a tool,
Yeah.
but you still had to put in the work. Like especially in
Like
I could o-
MySpace?
I could only talk in regards of like artistry. You'd hear like,
Yeah.
they went on MySpace, and then someone found them through their MySpace,
Yeah.
and then they got signed to a record label, and then they toured, then they did the
And
whole
they
thing.
lived their life.
Exactly. Versus right now, boom, I have a TikTok. Guess
Yep.
what? That song just exploded. I'm huge now. I don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. I'm a superstar.
But now you're
But you-
almost locked into TikTok.
Right.
Because as soon as you blow up, someone's like, I'm going to watch the next one. And it
Yeah.
better be there.
Yeah.
Which is what, as opposed to the MySpace thing where you're like, oh, well, they found them on there, they picked them up, and then they went and they lived their lives.
Right.
Versus where if you blow up on TikTok, it's like, what's the next one?
Exactly.
What's the next one?
And I think that goes hand in hand with how fast and everything goes now. I think from my perspective, I feel like the age of the superstar
Yeah.
has come and gone.
Yeah.
Just because we don't have idols anymore. Like
Yeah.
with the moment someone blows up, they're gone.
Yeah, right. Right.
Move on to the next.
I blame TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are exceptions, but
Yeah.
that just seems like the vast majority right now. And
Yeah.
I feel there needs to be a change.
Yeah.
And that's just from my own perspective, because I feel like
I'm with it.
we can't do this forever.
I know.
We
Yeah.
can't have the 3-month superstar and then on to the next one for the rest of time. We just
Right.
can't do it.
I just say utilize it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Keep yourself in check because really you're the only person that can do that.
Exactly.
Just keep yourself in check and go to other people and ask, get help if you really like truthfully are at that point and there you go. Fun fact before we wrap it up. After that Nick DeMarco episode,
Yeah.
I downloaded TikTok and I
Yeah.
deleted it like a month later. I couldn't do it. I hated it.
We made the one TikTok together. And
We
then
did.
You were gone in like 2 weeks.
I hated it so much. I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it.
It's okay.
Anyways.
There'll be another.
I hope not for me. Anyways, follow us on social medias. But yes, thank you for tuning in to this episode. See you next week.
See you next time.
Peace.